You've awakened. You've seen through the illusions of the world, yet now you feel lost. No drive, no ambition, no excitement for anything. You thought enlightenment would bring peace, but instead, it stole your fire. In this video, we'll uncover why spiritual awakening destroys motivation and how this emptiness is not your end, but the silent beginning of your transformation. When the process of awakening begins, the first thing that shatters is the structure of the self you have spent years building. You start to see that the identity you wore, your ambitions, your goals, your likes and dislikes were not truly yours. They were fragments borrowed from society, family, and the endless expectations of others. You realize that the person you thought you were was a mask, constructed to navigate a world that rewards conformity but punishes authenticity. And once that mask begins to fall, you are left staring into an unsettling emptiness. What most people call loss of motivation is actually the death of this mask. It's not that your will has disappeared, it's that the object of your will has dissolved. The things that once excited you now feel hollow, mechanical, meaningless. The career that once gave you direction feels like an illusion. The relationships that once validated you lose their grip. What dies here is not energy, but attachment, the emotional link to the artificial story you told yourself about who you were supposed to be. This collapse can feel terrifying because the ego fights for its survival. It whispers that you are wasting your life, that you are broken, that something has gone terribly wrong. But the truth is, you are standing at the edge of psychological death, the destruction of a self that was never real to begin with. The more you resist, the more painful it becomes, because what you are trying to hold on to is already disintegrating. Motivation fades because the identity that demanded it no longer exists. You cannot desire from a self that has died. You can only wait as something deeper begins to stir from beneath the ruins of who you once thought you were. After the collapse of the old self, the psyche enters a strange, suspended state, a liminal space between who you were and who you are becoming. It feels like floating in darkness, unable to move forward or backward. Nothing excites you anymore, yet you can't return to your previous way of living. This is the void, the silent, in-between world that every awakened mind must pass through. It is the death valley of transformation, where the old ego has perished, but the new consciousness has not yet taken form. In this void, the external world loses its meaning. The pleasures that once lit you up, success, validation, desire, ambition, seem distant and dull, like echoes from another lifetime. You may wake up each day feeling detached from everything, as if watching life through a thin veil. You are no longer asleep, yet not fully awake. The mind tries to grasp for structure, for identity, but nothing fits anymore. The psyche retreats inward, into silence, because it is rebuilding itself from the ground up. This stillness is often mistaken for depression, but it is something far more sacred. It is the moment when the unconscious begins to reorganize your entire being. The energy that once fueled your outer pursuits is now turning inward, nourishing the unseen layers of the soul. What looks like emptiness from the outside is actually a deep inner gestation. The spirit is preparing you to live not from desire, but from truth. Yet to the ego, this feels unbearable, because it thrives on movement, on doing, on constant identity. And when it cannot act, it calls the stillness meaningless. But this silence is the dark womb of transformation, where the fragments of your shattered identity begin to dissolve into something entirely new. As the void deepens, you begin to feel the shadow rise, a silent force that reveals the uncomfortable truth beneath your former motivations. You start to see that much of what once drove you was not born from freedom, but from fear. The ambition that kept you moving was often a disguise for insecurity. The desire to help others may have been a way to feel worthy. Even your search for enlightenment might have been an attempt to escape pain rather than understand it. When awakening strips away these illusions, what remains is a profound sense of meaninglessness. It is not that life loses meaning, it's that the false meanings collapse, leaving behind a raw and honest emptiness. This stage feels like standing before a mirror that reflects not who you want to be, but who you truly are. You see your hidden motives, the ways you chased validation, the ways you built your identity around being admired, successful, or spiritually superior. The shadow shows you the parts of yourself you refuse to acknowledge, the envy, the pride, the craving for control. Now, as the outer world fades, these fragments demand your attention. They were buried deep in the unconscious, and their emergence feels like darkness swallowing the light. But it is not punishment, it is revelation. The feeling of no motivation, here is the psyche's way of forcing you inward. You can no longer use work, goals, or distractions to escape what you must face. The energy that once flowed outward into achievement now turns inward to illuminate the unconscious. You are stripped of purpose because the ego's version of purpose has died. The false self can no longer sustain its illusions, and so the psyche creates a sacred pause, a descent into the depths where true desire can one day be reborn. When the shadow has been faced and the illusions have dissolved, a new kind of energy begins to form within you, quiet, subtle, but undeniably real. This energy is not driven by desire, ambition, or fear. It does not arise from the need to prove, achieve, or be recognized. It is a natural current that flows when your inner world stops fighting itself. The conscious mind, once dominated by control, begins to soften, and the unconscious, long ignored, starts to speak in symbols, intuitions, and impulses that feel deeply aligned with truth. This is the birth of inner purpose, the reawakening of genuine motivation that comes not from the ego, but from the wholeness of the psyche itself. You begin to act, not because you must, but because something within you moves you to act. There is no external reward, no sense of chasing an image of success. Your work, your relationships, even your silence start to feel like expressions of your inner being rather than performances for the outer world. This is why the motivation that returns after awakening feels so different. It is calm, steady, and free from anxiety. It carries no tension, no obsession, no desperation. It simply is. You no longer strive for purpose. You embody it. In this state, creation becomes effortless. The things you do are no longer an attempt to fill a void, but a way to express the fullness that now resides in you. The energy that once fractured between your ego's desires and your soul's truth becomes unified. This integration brings an inner peace that external success could never provide. The old drive to be someone has transformed into the simple desire to be. It is the point where life begins to flow through you rather than from you, where purpose ceases to be something to find and becomes something to remember. After the chaos, the silence, and the inner death, something ancient begins to rise within you. Not a new personality, but a deeper awareness of who you have always been, beneath the illusions. It is as if the fragments of your psyche, once scattered across years of chasing approval, begin to gather and form a center. From this center emerges the king, the sovereign self, that no longer seeks power from the outside world because it has discovered its throne within. This is not arrogance, nor pride. It is calm authority, the quiet knowing that you are no longer ruled by fear, desire, or the opinions of others. You begin to move differently, think differently, and speak differently. There is no longer a need to impress, to persuade, or to dominate. You act with precision, not impulse. You choose your battles with clarity. What once triggered you now barely moves you, not because you have become cold, but because your energy no longer leaks into meaningless struggles. You understand that most of life's chaos comes from those who have no inner ruler, and you refuse to be pulled into their confusion. The king within is not loud. He is centered, measured, and grounded in silence. In this state, motivation transforms into command. You no longer chase goals out of fear of being nothing. You pursue only what aligns with your essence. The difference is that now, every action feels like an extension of your being rather than a performance for approval. You no longer look for meaning in people or achievements because meaning radiates from your presence itself. The fire that once burned with restlessness now burns with purpose, controlled and powerful, illuminating everything you touch without consuming you in the process. What you call the loss of motivation after awakening is not the end of your journey. It is the sacred dismantling of everything false within you. The self that once lived through borrowed dreams, through ambition, through validation, has died. And what you are feeling is not failure, but rebirth in disguise. The stillness, the emptiness, the confusion, they are the silent architects of your transformation. You are being stripped of illusion so that what remains is real, pure, and indestructible. The fire that once came from ego has been extinguished, yes, but only to make space for a higher flame, one that does not burn out because it is not fueled by fear or desire. It comes from your center, from that timeless awareness that observes all things yet clings to none. This is why, after awakening, you do not lose motivation, you lose dependency. You stop running after what never belonged to you and start walking toward what has always been within you. When this truth settles, you begin to live with quiet mastery. Life becomes less about achieving and more about aligning. You act without noise, love without attachment, and create without seeking reward. The king within you returns not to rule others, but to rule himself. The kingdom is not the world outside, but the mind that has finally remembered its throne. And from that throne, you no longer chase purpose, you become it.